happy to present this webinar, and the topic is about decision making. Decisions are the bread and butter of any business, as we all know. We are talking here primarily about IT decisions, and they can be related to a variety of things, related to resources, to products, to services, processes, projects, technology. So we are making decisions all the day, and this webinar is addressing these decisions and is intended to create the awareness to invest into these decisions. We will discuss pros and cons, and at the end I will give also some agenda what might be a good approach to further qualify decision making in this context. So the presentation I will share with you is after an overview and introduction into the topic, primarily structured according to three types of decisions related to products, and here primarily product release decisions. Then we have some emphasis on project decisions, and then I will also address resource decisions. At the end of these three categories, I want to give a kind of summary. I want to analyze commonalities of all these decisions and come up with some consideration, which are the pros and which are the cons of investing into the quality of these decisions. The webinar is about creating awareness. We are familiar with investing into many things, and what I want to here emphasize is we should invest into decision making as well. We want to have in this webinar, as a result, a better understanding what good decisions are, what better decisions are, how we achieve them eventually, and we want to discuss it in the context of project, product, and resource decisions. We want to analyze the pros and cons, and want to also share some of the existing experience I have with expert decisions from the course of projects I have performed over the last couple of years. The webinar is not about any type of new silver bullet decision method I want to propagate here, or any tool or technique. It's not a propagation of one size fits all approach, nothing like that. It's not to emphasize and overemphasize analytical methods, tools, and techniques over human intuition. On the other side, it's not to emphasize human intuition over analytical methods. In fact, we need both, obviously. And it is also not a webinar about something called perfect decisions, so that doesn't exist typically, and this is not the intention to give here a pathway to be perfect, by no means. On the other side, it is also not a procedure or a recipe to avoid wrong decisions. We cannot completely avoid them. All what we can do is trying to make them less likely. So that gives a first framing, a first scoping of the webinar, what it is, what you can expect out of it, and what it is not. For those of you who only have 10 minutes time and you want to take something out of this webinar, here is something for you. There are 10 excuses for maintaining the status quo. I just say the status quo is decision making based on gut feeling, based on ad hoc behavior, and let's just say this, or assume this would be the status quo. And here are 10 excuses why this should be maintained. This, of course, is meant to be some introduction into the topic. So the first excuse is someone is saying decisions have always been made that way, so there is no reason to change something. Number two excuse would be there is no time left to further invest into making better decisions. Number three excuse is there are actually two options even for that excuse. There is too much or too less data to support analytic decision making, so that's why we have to stick to what we have done in the past. Number four excuse is things are decided politically anyway, so there is no reason to change anything and to invest. Number 5 excuse, I do not understand typically sophisticated new methods and computer tools, and that's why I don't want to change something. Number 6 excuse is I do not trust recommendations. I understand the tools, but I do not trust them, and that's why I don't want to change something. Number 7 excuse, things are changing too dynamically, so it doesn't make sense to invest into something where the data and the whole environment is so dynamically changing that I have a hard time to understand it anyway. Number 8 excuse is data is uncertain, and I cannot apply any of these methods, whatever it is. Number 9 excuse, I do not know the impact of better decisions, so you can tell me about that better decisions, but I don't really know what is the benefit out of that. That's why I maintain the status quo. And finally, number 10 is relying on methods and tools weakens my hero position, so that's not something I would like to have. That's why I keep it as it is. So that is meant, as I mentioned already, some introductions or some positions which I heard from time to time explicitly or implicitly, and this is of course something we want to discuss in the course of the webinar, to what extent this is true, and if not, why it is not true. Talking about decision making, the first important understanding is that this is a process. It's not the one point where you decide in favor of A, B, or C. So it's a process. So, and this process here, there are very different descriptions of this process. I have chosen one from Paul Nutt from 1999 from a paper. And this is interesting paper actually, because Paul was analyzing 356 decisions made by senior managers in medium and large organizations across the United States and Canada. And what came out of this analysis was the surprising but true fact that half of the decisions in organizations fail, according to this paper. And what fail means here is that, or what an indicator of success is, according to Paul Nutt, is that a decision was put in use, and correspondingly, the failure was that the decisions were not put in use. So that is Paul Nutt, and that is a decision making process. I don't want to go here into the details. Obviously, we see at the top there are always ongoing processes, organizational processes. We observe them, and from these observations, we get some questions about necessary changes or all of the things we have to decide. We collect information, and then we have some kind of action to be done, and this is again something which goes through a number of stages. Establish direction, identify the option is a very important point. You plan the development, you evaluate, you implement, and then you feed that back. These decisions once made, you feed them back into the business processes, and you observe the performance and the impact of these decisions. So that's something we have as a description of the decision-making process. Again, it's important to understand that this is a process. It's not a linear process. It's typically a evolutionary process with different players in that. And what we are discussing today is how to make this process more successful in the context of our business, which is in the domain of IT.